welcome to Have I Got News For You? I'm Alexander Armstrong. In the news this week, following the tedium of last week's Queen's speech, a BBC reporter reveals what Prince Philip would far rather do in the House of Lords.
Go in there and basically go...
1980s outtakes from All Creatures Great and Small show that inappropriate behaviour at the BBC was more widespread than previously thought.
It'd be great if he pulled somebody out, though, wouldn't it?
In Pyongyang, North Koreans react to the news that Kim Jong-un agrees with David Cameron on gay marriage. And Virgin Airlines launch a shocking new campaign to stop male passengers fantasising about air hostesses. On Paul's team tonight is an unashamedly traditional Eton-educated Conservative MP who was born in 1969 at the age of 50. Please welcome Jacob Rees-Mogg. And with Ian tonight is a comedian who says she wishes she knew more about politics but knows she doesn't like the Conservatives. A bit like David Cameron. Please welcome Josie Long. And we start with the bigger stories of the week. Paul and Jacob take a look at this.
Oh, yes. Ben Turpin there, cross-eyed comedian, famous. That's Lord Feldman, perhaps famous or not famous for saying something. Those are the members of the Tory associations, I think.
One of them's a friend of mine, actually.
Really? Which one?
Yes, Edmund Costello. He's a very good egg.
Yes.
Very good egg.
So, yes, somebody apparently has called some of these people swivel-eyed loons, but it's difficult to know who has said this.
Who didn't? I mean, let's just...
Who didn't? Well, Lord Feldman said he didn't say it,
He
but he's the only
absolutely-
one that people
that's
think
right.
did.
Yes, he was definitely not Lord Feldman.
Oh, isn't it?
No, that's right.
They're the reporters who heard it say it was.
No, they don't.
They're sticking to their story.
They're sticking to their story, but they're protecting their source. So they're not saying that anybody in particular said that the Tories had a strabismus.
Tell us about strabismus, Jacob.
Well, a strabismus is when people's eyes go off in different directions.
One goes UKIP, the other Tory.
I wouldn't...
Different direction.
I wouldn't put it like that. It's a word for boss-eyed, and there's various eye conditions that some people have, but Conservatives almost invariably do not have. Thank you. I don't think there are any loonies on the right of British politics.
You don't think that Nigel Farage is insane?
No, I don't. No, I think Nigel Farage is broadly a good egg.
Nigel Farage is like the fevered, wet dream of Jeremy Clarkson. That is all he is.
I'm not sure I quite understand.
And what's Cameron done to smooth things over?
He's written us all a letter saying that members of the Conservative Party are marvellous, and I agree with that. If any of you are members of the Conservative Party here, you're marvellous. And the rest of you are probably marvellous too. Everyone's marvellous.
Right. Yes, he wrote, despite our differences over Europe and gay marriage, the leadership and the party have a deep and lasting friendship. Adding, not in a Nancy way, obviously. A lot of them upset about the gay marriage bill. Jacob, you voted against gay marriage.
Yes, the line of the Catholic Church.
OK, you took the Catholic whip rather than the Tory.
Yes.
That's right. Did anyone hear what Lord Tebbit had to say in an interview with The Big Issue this week?
Yes, but it doesn't bear repeating.
Well, I know it really does, actually.
No, it doesn't.
You've got the quote. When we have a queen who is a lesbian and she marries another lady, then decides she would like to have a child, and someone donates sperm and she gives birth to a child, is that child heir to the throne?
It is a speculative concern and it is unhelpful. Like, he could equally go, what if a dragon shows up and steals the queen? You know, it's not helpful.
His problem, his concern, is one that constitutionally will not arise from the Act that's just gone through the
Well, I
House of
hope he's
Commons.
watching, because that will put his mind at rest.
While we're on Norman Tebbit, do you want to hear his theories about how gay marriage might affect inheritance tax?
Yes.
He said it would lift my worries about inheritance tax because maybe I'd be allowed to marry my son. Why not? Why shouldn't a woman marry her own daughter? Why shouldn't two elderly sisters living together marry each other? I quite fancy my brother.
And all these years, people have thought Norman's reactionary. Extraordinary free-thinking liberal.
What did the Conservative MP for Aldershot, Gerald Howarth, warn us about?
Aggressive homosexuals.
That's exactly right. His quote was this, he said, there are plenty in the aggressive homosexual community who see this as but a stepping stone to something even further. What next, bumming on the national curriculum?
It's going back to the 19th century.
What might the House of Lords do?
They're threatening to have a vote on the second reading, which the House of Lords very rarely does, on bills that come up from the Commons.
That's right. They might block the bill's passage. Who's going to be... in a week of controversial statements, what has Penelope Keith been saying this week?
She's addressed the housing problems.
It's kind of incredibly mean to be blaming the housing crisis on older women.
Flibberty gibbet 60-year-olds running off.
That's exactly
yes.
right. Yeah,
as soon as the children have grown up, they look around them and think, oh, you're quite boring. This is personal experience.
You mean you get that at home as well?
That's right, this was in Country Life magazine. She was complaining about middle-aged women contributing to rising house prices by divorcing and living on their own. If only we could educate people to go on living together for longer. It's all these single dwellings, all these women in their 50s and 60s who suddenly want their own space, to be their own people. To do what? Well, watch Pointless, of course.
Do you need your own home to do that?
Oh, yes. What did we learn this week about men with big muscles?
They can lift heavy things.
Yes.
Yes!
No, this is research published by some university somewhere that said that men with high upper body strength are likely to be more right-wing because they pursue their own self-interest. Weedy men, on the other hand, are more concerned with the welfare of others.
I think I disprove this rule, personally.
Let's see your biceps, Jacob.
I don't know that I've got anything like that.
Of course, you are a man of the people, of course, aren't you?
Absolutely, very much so.
Here's when Andrew Neil sprang a question about social class on you.
I would say sort of upper middle rather than upper.
Well, I'm certainly not part of the aristocracy. That's definitely true.
So we settle for upper middle?
I'm a man of the people. Vox populi, vox dei. But Alexander, aren't you even posher than I am? I seem to have read somewhere that you were descended from William the Conqueror, which I think makes you a cousin of my wife. So we're family, may I call him cousin?
That's nice. Yes, he's my...
I don't think I'm even related to my own parents.
Yes, this is the gay marriage bill. The move to legalise same-sex marriage has outraged many Conservatives who believe that marriage should be between a man and a woman, or several women, if you're Boris. Also, this week a US committee criticised the amount of tax Apple pays. As a company, Apple has always prided itself on encouraging their creatives, especially those in the accounts department. Ed Miliband has attacked Google for its tax arrangements. Interestingly, if you type Ed Miliband into Google, it suggests, did you mean David? OK, Ian and Josie, take a look at this.
As the next Prime Minister.
Oh, God, please no. That's Michael Gove. Head teachers have proposed a vote of no confidence in him because he's appalling at his job and they all hate him.
Yes, this is at the National Association of Head Teachers conference in Birmingham. But he made an effort. Here he is, asking what it is that's making head teachers so stressful.
I think the first thing that we can do is to engage the profession and to find out what are the drivers of the stress that you record. And I think
maybe they think that you're one of them, Michael.
Yes.
Yes, teachers say they're getting stressed out because he's introducing far too many new initiatives and that it's like trying to wrestle with an octopus. A few cheerleaders on It's a Knockout know what that might have been like. Jacob, you were quite forward as a child, weren't you? How old were you when you wrote your first letter to the Financial Times?
I don't know that I've written a letter to the Financial Times.
I told you were 12. We have a picture of you here. Look, there we are, 12-year-old Jacob. Ah!
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Did you write a leader for the Financial Times?
I didn't. No. I did something slightly different. I went to shareholders' meetings, but I didn't write letters to the Financial Times.
12 years old?
Yes.
And how did that come about?
I had been given a little bit of money for a birthday present by my father, and...
you didn't buy a boat, you bought shares.
That's right,
and-
yes. So,
Oh,
When we say a little bit of money, are we talking six figures here?
No, I think it was £150. I mean, it was not...
Right, but in 1890, that was quite...
Can you identify the third actor in this scene from a 1995 film starring Christopher Lee and Robert Hardy, set in a boarding school and called A Feast at Midnight?
What do they call you, Raptor?
You know perfectly well, dear Pastor.
Oh, yes. You mean the film, The Dinosaur?
It's Michael. I knew.
It's Jacob.
It's not. No. It's obviously Michael. I knew he'd done that actually.
Did you?
Yes, a film star.
He's quite good.
Yes.
With just a glance.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't
He's
it?
quite good.
Yeah, it's a good glance.
Look at that. He's very impressive.
How
He
come?
could have had an alternative career had he wanted.
Oh, how we wish.
Yes, this is Education Secretary Michael Gove, who was given a vote of no confidence by the National Association of Head Teachers. When asked by the Mail if he wanted to be Prime Minister, Mr Gove replied, "I just don't know that I have what it takes." Mind you, that hasn't stopped him from being Education Minister. A 10-year-old girl has written to the Education Secretary pointing out that in a recent exam paper, punctuation was used incorrectly on 3 occasions, proving what we've all suspected: Michael Gove doesn't know his colon from his elbow. And so to round 2, the picture spin quiz. Fingers on buzzers, teams.
Oh, yes, this is the Church of England that agreed that swans can marry helicopters. Before they thought the issue of the rotary blades and the wings was incompatible. One's going like that, one's going like that. It's 2 different worlds, but no, they found one that does that simultaneously, so they're both happy. Is this the priest who's got an organ growing out of his head?
No. This is the news that a swan named Hooper has fallen in love with a helicopter.
No, it hasn't.
Yeah, no, it has. Well, does anyone know where this great romance has unfolded?
Yeah, in the books of J.K. Rowling.
No, this is...
The day the swan fell in love with a helicopter. I know, yes, when the swan was born, the first thing he saw was the helicopter and thought that was his mum. Right?
No, it's...
And they're going to get married so they don't have to pay inheritance tax.
It happened at Le Miel Golf Club in Jersey, which is where Hooper lives. According to the Times, the swan became lovelorn after the death of his partner 2 years ago and developed a crush on a helicopter owned by a wealthy businessman. Gold digger. How do we know this is true love, according to the Mail Online?
Because it's not. It's completely made-up rubbish.
Dozens of different choppers fly in and out of the runway each week, but Hooper only has eyes for the EC-155.
He has eyes for gold.
You got a picture?
Well, that's just a swan flying
In
past
flagrante.
That's not proof that the 2 of them are in love. I
It's
call
not a
that...
very romantic picture, is it? With
You
all this sort of-
cold man.
I think that's tabloid intrusion.
They might be sucked up into the updraft.
If you're lucky.
A swan's natural mate in nature is A, another swan, B, Ronnie Corbett, C, a helicopter.
There's always use, isn't there?
There's always what?
There's use, because
Juice, yeah.
Helen of Troy was born out of swan's egg.
I thought you were going to say Swansea for a minute.
The
Cardiff girl.
The helicopter lands, aware that his mate is somewhere in the As the blades circle around, the swan picks up the scent of diesel and comes lolloping out of the aircraft hangar
And straight into the blades of the helicopter.
Yes, according to the Express, the pilot is so terrified the besotted bird will fly into the rotors, his wings have now been clipped for his own safety. Why might Hooper have more luck dating a Prague tube train?
Because the Prague tube train's more his type. Not so it won't go off the rails.
Is that where most people fall in love?
Well, the company that runs the underground there
Yeah.
is proposing a singles-only carriage. In the hope that they'll provide people with a rare opportunity to meet and form relationships in an increasingly frantic world.
He's already got a helicopter to himself. Why does he need to go and share a train with a bunch of other people? He's in there with that.
But why is no one finding love in a Guildford library?
Because they've closed it down.
No, because according to the Telegraph, a literary speed dating event where participants were encouraged to adopt literary pseudonyms had to be cancelled after no women applied. One man came as Mr. Darcy, one man came as Rhett Butler, but unfortunately the convincing-looking Stig of the Dump turned out to be a urine-soaked tramp. So fingers on buzzers, teams.
It's about meat
yes.
pies setting off smoke alarms.
You're very close.
Am I? Meat pies, Yorkshire pudding, smoke alarms, fire alarms,
Fire alarms.
creme brulee.
Oh, you are
Creme brulee.
It's the news that the spate of Merseyside fires has been started by Eccles cakes. Yes, I should explain, Jacob. Eccles, it's a place in the north. According to James Murphy, the watch manager at Crosby Fire Station, good evening, the sugar in the Eccles cakes can ignite if cooked for a little too long. Yeah, in a nuclear reactor. Anyone guess what the headline was in the Liverpool Echo? You can't have your Eccles cake and heat it.
Heat it.
Oh, another scandal.
That's brilliant. Yeah. Another journalism at its finest.
Another scandal, this time a little bit closer to Jacob's home, to do with caviar.
Oh, yes, I did see that. It was... Yes.
Luckily, your butler brought you the paper.
No, they did some DNA testing on caviar in some very smart restaurant, and it turned out they were being sold a less good quality caviar, but nobody could spot the difference. You know, I've come on here because you kindly sent me cream eggs, because I'd said I liked them. Occurred to me afterwards, I should have said...
You have to be bribed to
I should have said I like caviar, because then I might have got a pot of caviar, which would have been...
When I was on Desert Island Discs, which was a very long time ago,
Were you somebody's luxury?
Yeah.
Somebody's luxury.
They said, what's your luxury? And I chose Frosties. Because I lived on them at that stage. And Frosties sent me a year's supply. And my wife said, you're an idiot. Why didn't you say BMW?
What were you going to have on your Frosties?
Yeah, it's got no milk on a desert island, it's got a goat.
Coconut milk.
Oh, yes. How'd you get into the coconut?
Great idea.
With a knife I fashioned from my own tibia.
Yes, this is the warning not to heat up Eccles cakes in your microwave. The Eccles cake warning came from a fire station manager in Liverpool, although the most common cause of the fire on Merseyside is static electricity from shell suits. Meanwhile, cheap inferior caviar is being passed off as top-grade Savruga caviar. At last, a food scandal that affects us all. Or is it just you and me? Okay, fingers on buzzers, teams.
Now, I think there is a man who's just... Is this about the guy that's brought out a guide on how you can quickly sort of subvert these numbers?
Exactly right.
That's exactly what it is, and he's worked it out, he's published very, very useful information, so if you're phoning somebody like, I don't know, BT or whoever it is, he press these numbers and it gets you through quickly, saves you loads of time. Is that the guy?
It is exactly right. The man is called Nigel Clark, from Forkham, Kent.
Yep.
Did he used to be the speaking clock?
Can you skip the music?
You can skip
So when they put...
That's the only reason why I phoned.
What?
I only just phoned for the music. I don't want to get through to somebody, I say, you've just ruined a song, thank you. Confuses them.
If you dial up Aviva Insurance and you're placed in a queue for longer than 5 minutes, he's discovered that if you press option 3, according to the guide, you can switch the whole music to jazz and swing. If you prefer pop, press 4. And Jacob, for industrial dubstep, it's 5.
I must confess I've never heard of that.
No. I suspect they've probably never heard of you either.
No.
Why might this man have a similarly high boredom threshold to that of Nigel Clark?
He's trying to invent the mobile telephone as it appeared in 1984.
He is Neil Brittlebank, and according to The Sun, he spent 25 years building up a whopping collection of 1,000 rare bricks. Mr. Brittlebank told the Metro, each of my 1,000 bricks has a story to tell.
Yes.
At which point the reporter put one in each pocket and jumped into a canal. Michael Hammett of the British Brick Society said this collection is very interesting, because some collections of bricks can actually be quite dull. And finally, the Daily Mail printed some pictures of inventions that never caught on, which are part of a new collection. Would you like to see what those are?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean,
that's
it's
a pram in the war, isn't it? With a gas mask,
A
effectively.
gas-resistant
yes.
pram, absolutely right.
also
yes.
air-resistant by the look of it.
Didn't people have gas masks for an air raid? So that person's gone, oh, it's an air raid, I'll just take the baby out.
And there's this. That is a piano, specially designed for the bedbound.
Well, it's crushing her. I mean, no wonder she can't get out of the bed.
Put that on the Chopin channel.
No.
Sorry. And finally, this. I want to know what that's for.
Is it for those who couldn't afford the mascot that came with Rolls Royces? The Spirit of Ecstasy?
No, it was used in Paris for picking up drunks. One was used this week on the M1 for George Michael. You want to see how the sun covered the George Michael falling out of the car?
Yes, absolutely.
Scrape me up before you go. Yes, this is a new guide which helps you bypass automated menus on the phone. The dialling shortcut to report a water leak to Lloyd's TSB Insurance is 1321154. To buy a television from Argos, it's 13423. And if you've bought a faulty microphone from Curry's, it's 121212. Time now for the odd one out round. Ian and Josie, your four are Energy Minister Greg Barker and his sausage dog Otto, Clint Eastwood, Jacob Rees-Mogg, and a customer in McDonald's in Cork.
They're all lovers of McDonald's, Jacob in particular.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Jolly good stuff.
Okay. I know that you are 100% in favour of privatising the postal service. So if we can find out that two of these other people are in favour of really overpriced...
So what we're saying is he is a Tory.
Yeah.
I may know what it is.
Oh, tell me.
I was upbraided at Lord's last week, putting my feet on the seats. The dog of Greg Barker had a cushion that was warmed in the microwave in his ministry. And I don't know about the other two. I can't work
In
out.
McDonald's in Cork, did somebody put their feet on the counter or on a chair, was thrown out for not wearing any shoes?
You are on the right track. So it is chairs is what it's all
Clint had
about.
a conversation with a chair.
That's one.
But you were ticked off by stewards.
A steward, just one.
A
It didn't
steward.
take a bevy off them, and I
What were you
removed...
doing? What were you doing putting your feet on a seat?
Well, they're quite cramped. There's not a lot of space.
Was there an urchin somewhere that you could... Who do you think is the odd one?
OK, let's go for the obvious one, Jacob.
No.
It's the customer in Cork.
It's absolutely not that either.
No, it's a bloke with a dog.
Because the dog, because
Everybody
Greg
else
Barker
did.
didn't do anything to do with seats, but the dog did it.
You're absolutely right. This is right. Yes, the dog had a cushion.
I'm really sorry, I thought I had it.
The McDonald's customer in Cork found himself in a rather embarrassing predicament when he got stuck in a baby high chair. There's a picture of him. There is McMoron. The man was finally rescued, but not before he'd crushed his McNuggets. The Hollywood legend that is Clint Eastwood. What did Clint say he was thinking behind this ad-libbed speech to an empty chair?
The president was not effectively holding the office. It was as though there was no one in government.
According to the Telegraph, Clint said it was supposed to be a contrast with all the scripted speeches, because I'm Joe Citizen. Doesn't even know what his name is. Jacob, what of yours was longer than anyone else's in Parliament?
Floxinoculopilification, I've got a feeling that is, yes.
Meaning, of course, the estimation of something as valueless.
That's absolutely right.
It was the longest word in Hansard, since been beaten by the length of the boo whenever George Osborne starts to speak. Jacob Rees-Mogg also stirred controversy when it was revealed that he and the King of Spain had their own special loo to sit on in carriages. Jacob explained, you can't have too many people using a special loo or it's no longer special. Adding, it's now a disabled loo, so anyone can use it. I don't know if you've heard, but being a member of the public is not strictly speaking a disability. Paul and Jacob here
Yes.
are
Is that so? Is it?
yours.
Yeah.
Grandpa from the Munsters.
Yes.
An owl's face, Dan Brown, and Ali the turtle.
The owl does look like he's got his face upside down. Ali the turtle, I mean, Dan Brown's got another book out. He wrote a Da Vinci Code.
What's interesting about the owl, that's a good clue.
He looks like his head's upside down, but is that...
Yeah, that's upside down is a good...
Is a good way to look at it. Yes, because bats hang upside down, don't they? So Grandpa,
yes,
as the
yes.
vampire, would go to sleep upside down.
I know that Dan Brown hangs upside down. That's his cure for writer's block.
Is right.
Oh, so
Which
the
is such a
turtle's
shame
the
for
odd one
everyone.
out because it had its back opened and weights put in so it would sink.
Absolutely right, yes. They all hang upside down. Right on. They all hang upside down, apart from Ali the turtle, who's been fitted with a special belt so she doesn't turn upside down whilst in water. Do you know why she was turning upside down?
She
Poor old
got an
Ali?
infection, I think, and got a bit of air in her
No,
back.
she was hit by a boat.
Oh, she was hit by
an air bubble. Yeah, sorry, an air bubble under her shell. Using a scuba diver's weight belt, the Weymouth Sea Life Centre has found a way to keep her upright. Experiments now being carried out to see if the same technology will in fact work for George Michael. A marine biologist responsible says he got the idea when disposing of an unwanted puppy at Christmas. Dan Brown has revealed that to cure writer's block, he hangs upside down. And after reading one paragraph of Dan Brown, I usually want to hang myself the right way up. Dan Brown's new book, Inferno, is now in the shops, according to the Sunday Times. From February, 11 translators have been working in a secure underground bunker near Milan. But not one of them has been able to translate it into decent English. Time now for the missing words round. This week's guest publication is Psychic Today. I have to say, I really did enjoy next September's issue. And we'll start with, I'll play didgeridoo in what?
It's not jail, is it?
No.
Good.
I'll play didgeridoo in space, says Major Tim. Space, coincidentally, being a place where you really do need to tie your kangaroo down. Next, Ben Fogle's acid trip. What?
Apparently he was in a pub one lunchtime and drank some beer and then it's like, ooh, it's like getting all funny. We went into a church and saw a swan getting married to a helicopter. I'll never have any more of that again, he said. Signed the pledge.
Ben Fogle's acid trip linked to Russian government. Ben Fogle reckons his drink may have been spiked by Russian agents
Yes.
who could have mistaken him for CIA spy Ryan Fogle. Sounds far-fetched until you learn that Russian TV has just asked Ryan Fogle to present Crufts. And finally, what is Tarot Card of the Month?
There's a James Bond film about that, isn't there? But I can't remember the ones that come out. She draws the pack.
Live and Let Die.
Live and Let Die.
Can you sing the theme tune?
I'm not going to do that now.
Oh,
no.
go on.
No.
Modernising Tory party, sing the theme tune.
It is the Two of Cups.
The Two of Cups.
And what does that mean?
The Two of Cups is the second most powerful card in the tarot deck,
Is
just
it?
below the Ace of Crap. And so the final scores are Ian and Josie on 4, but Paul and Jacob on 6.
Well done.
But before we go, there's just time for the caption competition.
Rural communities more relaxed about gay marriage than people who live in towns.
And I leave you with news that midway through her Eurovision performance, Bonnie Tyler glances towards the wings in search of a supportive gesture from her family. Before leaping off a cliff, a group of lemmings decide to enjoy one last meal. And in Liverpool, animal rights activists complain that John Bishop has forced his dog to undergo unnecessary veterinary procedures. Good night.
Hosting a children's party, Lucy needs a magician and Lee has got a trick up his sleeve. The comedy continues with Not Going Out next here on BBC One.